New homeschooling mom here, clocking in at after 9:30 p.m. The kids are down. I had a chance to take a shower and rest and think through things. And it's in moments like these where I'm wondering, did I make a mistake homeschooling? What am I doing? What am I doing? I've got a preschooler and I've got a kindergartner, and I'm just navigating the terrain. I will tell you this: WTF. Thank God for the creator moms out there that are letting me know about curriculum and how to choose it and what options there are, because I just feel like I just dove in the deep end and had nobody telling me what to do. And I got great advice on the front end. And then now that I'm in it, I'm like, whoa, what am I doing? What is all these links? Where am I even going? How do I buy curriculum? What is the right curriculum? I did get some advice from my HST, my homeschool teacher. And I think I was just drowning even in that call. I'm choosing to take a big step back, because to the point where I'm not choosing any curriculum. Right now, I'm not choosing anything. And we're entering the homeschooling game late in the year because we left school as the formal institution. We left that life. And I think it was for the best. And we'll see, right? Year by year, we'll decide if this is still the right move. I don't know how I will homeschool like into middle school and things like that. I just don't see that. But, I definitely want to stay open to what my boys will want to do. I just think in these primary years, being there, being part of their education, being part of discovering who they are as they discover who they are is really important to me. So that's why I'm doing it. That's why I chose to do it. Their dad and I have talked about it. We've had some disagreements about it, but ultimately, this is the decision we've made. And a little backstory, some tidbits of what's going on with me. My husband of 6 years and I are divorcing, and I moved in with my mom. So me and my two boys are in with my mom, and it's such a blessing because, really, in all honesty, there's so much peace here, and I'm really grateful that it worked out to be here and have her support as I navigate through all this. I'm also a solopreneur, and I'm navigating this as a single mom, and it's a lot. And I would say last week alone was like the major reckoning with all these decisions kind of coming to a head. And now I'm in my new space and I'm feeling a lot of peace and calm. I'm feeling very supported by my mom. My boys love their grandma. And so we're in a beautiful place. I talked about this in a previous video about curating your village. And I feel like I have such a strong village. And that includes my mom. That includes my friends and family who I didn't even really have the energy to tell that I was moving out. I think it took enough energy just to do the move and make the decisions I was making as far as homeschooling goes, pulling my kids out of school, saying their goodbyes and things like that was a lot that I just didn't really have energy to put out to other things other than just my family. And I think that's important to recognize when you don't have the energy to put out to other people other than your family, and not apologize for it. Because I'll tell you, I'm telling my friends now, and I'm getting around to telling the people that I care about, and I'm telling YouTube, the world. It's still a small channel, so I feel like I have some grace here. But I am still making my way through telling friends and family what is happening with me. In all that, though, when I do tell my friends, they're very supportive. They're proud of me. They're encouraging, and they know it's a lot for us to go through. They're here for me. What do you need? Tell me what to do, Do you need to help unpacking, things like that? So I feel very supported. And I think that's really important to recognize who is in your village. And I would say being at my mom's house feels like I'm getting the support in a new way. and it's definitely giving me life. I didn't think it would. I think I was shying away from the idea of moving in with my mom. Not like it's bad. In fact, do it if you have the opportunity. I had a girlfriend tell me, she's like, why wouldn't you do that? Because I was hesitating on moving in. I think it felt a little bit backward for me, like moving backward in life, but that's actually not true. In fact, I still feel like I'm moving forward. And I will tell you this, I'll circle back to kind of January as I made this big declaration at the start of the year. I'm going to be a millionaire this year. And it was so big and bold. And I'm just charging forward with that vision still. I will say this though, when you're going through all of what I'm going through and you have your thing, we all have our trials and tribulations. It is easy to get lost in the information, in the emotions, in the feelings of not knowing how any of that is still going to happen. And why it's important that I talk about manifestation and how I feel about this sort of prayer is because I am a walking prayer. I am a living prayer, living, walking, breathing prayer, in that I am still manifesting that goal of becoming a millionaire despite all odds, despite feeling like I'm kind of at ground zero. I'm not really at ground zero, but moving in with my mom feels like a ground zero. But in a way, it's just a new runway for my plane to take off from. And here's what's important for me to do. Still tap into the vision, which I've not done in the last week. I've not really tapped into my vision, I think, because I'm just wrestling with the day to day and the emotions of it. I mean, I'm filming this on a day where I'm feeling really strong and not that tired, even though earlier today I was very tired. It was the Monday of our first homeschooling week, and it was a long day. We had meltdown after meltdown. Luckily, it wasn't both boys at the same time. And I found myself managing through, knowing that I'd rather it be me who's with them during these meltdowns, because I don't know what any other teacher would do while they're with these meltdowns. And I know that they've had some really good teachers along the way. And I know that I've felt confident that they've had some really good teachers along the way, that they were probably managing just as well as I did. We're really calm, loving. Do you need a hug? What can we do? That kind of thing. Not feeding into the gravity of the despair, but more so kind of bringing levity and lightness and love to the situation. I feel like any teacher that they've had would do that. And that's what they're getting here with me and their grandma. I will say that's really, really important. That's been pretty important. I think if anything, the meltdowns are reminding me why I did this, because I need to help them regulate. I am their mom, and I don't need to go into all the stuff that I talked about in a previous video about why I'm choosing to homeschool. This is more about like, did I make the right choice? And I am feeling like I did make the right choice still, in light of the meltdowns and in spite of being very lost this morning and starting our day not really sure what to do. I didn't buy curriculum yet, and I probably won't. I think I'll get little chapter books and units for language arts and possibly social studies and math, because I feel like that could support us. However, I don't think I have to buy curriculum this early in the game. So I think I'm blessed in that I am choosing fairly early. Granted, we didn't start with preschool, TK, or kinder. We went the public school route, and I don't have any regret in that anymore. I think along the way, I was starting to feel really antsy about getting out of the schools and starting on this journey of them being home with me and us working together through some of their challenges with the school setting. And I think it just makes me better informed, better aware, and probably more receptive to all the options that are out there, which is why what resonates with me from other YouTube creator moms is, the moms that aren't picking curriculum early on in their kinder TK kind of time frame. They're not necessarily choosing curriculum. They're being really light and easy. Maybe they have knowledge crates and kits that come in the mail, and they kind of work on those things, and they go for nature walks, and that's what we did today. Today we did nature walks, we did circle time, we did read alouds, and honestly, I read aloud whenever I don't know what to do. That's something, right? They're really interested in the stories. They're learning vocabulary. We get to talk about things. I get to define words for them and see if they're processing or if they're interested in certain things. And I love to see them come alive. We're reading The Wizard of Oz, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Tell me in the comments. But we're reading The Wizard of Oz because that's something that they were interested in. And it's a longer book. And I remember back in school, when I was in school, my teacher, second and third grade in particular, I remember coming back from lunch and having the read aloud, the teacher reading. Actually, in first grade too, she would read aloud, and we would sit on the carpet and we would listen. And it was just the best time. It was the best time. And I remember the books, and I remember how interested it was to pick it back up when it was a longer book, a longer, chapter book. And we would pick it back up, and you'd kind of, oh, I wonder what's going to happen next. And you pick up the story. And I really loved that. I think I'm overzealous in wanting that kind of a read aloud scenario with my TK and kinder, but I am seeing that it's okay and they're liking it. And so we're just gonna go with the flow. I'm gonna go with their flow. They're going with my flow, this total fish out of water flow, and we're gonna make it work. And all the while, I am devouring every night something around homeschooling since we've been on this journey, especially since last week, something around homeschooling, where I'm planning the next day. What new book are we going to rent from the library? Fun and exciting things to do with the kids that are outside of the box. I just really want to stay thinking outside of the box. I don't want to fall into this rigorous academic life, because that's exactly why I pulled them out of school, because I think they were kind of bucking the system with the way it was shaping their personality, and I want to be part of the unfolding of how they're becoming, how they're coming into themselves. I want to be there for that. And too much of the day was gone from my purview. And I know that's a control issue, but so much of the day, their development was gone from my awareness, to the point where I felt like I was catching up at the end of the day. And I don't like that feeling. I really I want to know what's going on. They weren't telling me what they learned in their day. I'd get enough from the teacher that gave me a little bit of satisfaction. I'd have some, home or some classwork or artwork come home, and I'd get to see that they did that, and I'd want to know about that. How'd you do that? And to me, all of that does seem intimidating, right? Having the materials and the supplies to do all those things, but it is not that big of a deal to make it happen. Get some crayons, get some glue, get some construction paper, and come up with some fun, exciting thing and do it with them, right? Especially around the seasons, and make it fit into our homeschooling day. I think that's going to be fun and exciting for them. It's fun and exciting for me. I get to be part of that journey, part of that development, part of that unfolding of their life. And I find it, while it is stressful to find myself not knowing what to do at certain times, thinking I'm not a teacher, what do I know? I haven't been to school for this, but I am their mother. And if I could raise them up to this point before I send them off to school, and this is what I heard another YouTuber mom say, if you could raise them up to 5 years old, then you can certainly keep raising them from here. You can help them in their education. And I did sign up for some online classes for my kinder student. So he's going to be starting some online classes, and we're going to see how that goes. And we're going to check out karate, and we're going to do some swim lessons, and we're going to continue to go on nature walks, and we're going to go to the zoo, and we're going to do field trips and things like that I want to be part of. And I think it was feeling more like it was out of the way for me to be involved in the way the school was doing it, let alone now it feels very freeing to now be part of how I want to do it. I want to set up the day, set up our in and out, set up the snacks and things like that, be part of making sure they're being healthy and happy and whole all throughout the day, start to finish. And I've been on a few field trips where there's a lot of waiting on the bus and sitting around. And granted, it's a beautiful thing. Take those kids out of the classroom, put them on a bus, take them somewhere amazing, spend the day there, come back to school on the bus. It's a lot of wait time though. It's a lot of sitting around. It's a lot of, I don't know what to do with myself. It teaches them patience. It teaches the grown-ups, the grown-up chaperones patience for sure, if we don't already have it. I guess I didn't really love putting them through it. However, you sit with a friend and you start talking and you do your thing. I think I was already, when I was on this field trip in particular, this last one, I was already in my head, I'm going to homeschool my kids. So I don't really love this, all this waiting. And some of the other parents were kind of saying the same thing. There was so much waiting on the bus because you have all these classes to wait on, board the bus, make sure everyone's there. Everyone's strapped in and then we go, versus just you and yours getting on in the car and going. So much less downtime, waiting time. And I don't know, I'm excited to do things a little bit differently. And I'm also excited to continue my homeschooling journey with the help of other homeschooling moms. I will say this, I tried to get onto Reddit. I tried to get onto my Facebook groups that I joined around homeschooling and all these mom groups on there. And I haven't been on at all because I'm still on YouTube, still searching all my favorite creators and what they're saying about homeschooling their kids. And I'm not finding myself too down a rabbit hole. I'm definitely finding what resonates with me and moving on. I'm not really subscribed to this idea of super academic pushing of information and rote memorization and things like that. I'm definitely wild and free in my approach. However, I think there is a place for excellence. I think there is a place for making sure that they know the importance of coloring inside the lines if and when we get there, right? In the meantime, I think I'm going to go with my gut on are we just going to kind of color to color? Is this too much? Can we revisit coloring inside the lines tomorrow? Is it that important right now? I think there's so much intuition involved with that can arise, that can show up when you are educating just one student at a time. I have two different learners. I have two different boys. They're two different students. They're two different everything. And I recognize the levels. They're 18 months apart. I recognize the levels that I kind of have to be cautious of, right? Not pushing my 4-year-old too hard when I'm trying to work with my 5-year-old and things like that. And maybe not slowing down my 5-year-old, even though I don't think I could. I think he's just super bright. He catches on very fast, and he'll let me know, I think, in his demeanor, in his personality, if he's just like, okay, I'm over this. So I'm kind of reading that, but there's so much that you can be perceptive to when you just are one-on-one versus a classroom of 1 to 27, 1 to 31. I hear some teachers have 31 kids, and I think they have an aide, but that aide might be going to make copies, or that aide might be going to take one kid to the bathroom, or busy with this table and this table is being neglected. So I think, schools, there's a place for schools. I did all right in school. And I saw another YouTuber mom talking about, she did all right in school. We had pleasant childhoods, and I think I enjoyed school. I enjoyed meeting up with my friends and talking about what happened and this and that. Granted, we didn't have phones back then. Not everybody was on TikTok. And I think that's a different beast, different animal, that it is different now. And if you want a little bit of that kind of nostalgia where there's a place for the computer, right? Remember when you had to go to the computer lab and it wasn't just you were learning on the tablet all day or learning on the computer all day? I don't know how far back that's setting kind of the thinker in our kids. And I don't want to wait around and discover the damage. I want to just lead with instinct. I want to lead with intuition. I want to lead with love. And I want to place the computer and the phone at the time, at the grade when it's appropriate. And right now, I'd rather be digging in the dirt. I'd rather stop and look and see what interests my kids, what gross thing he wants to step on and pick at, and ask, what is this? I don't even want to tell you some of what my son gets into and what his curiosity leads him to. I think more doctor than otherwise. But anyway, yeah, on our nature walk, there's so much to see, right? And he's still interested in the leaves and looking up at the sky and all that. And the innocence, I think, is so important. We're maintaining that, and I don't want to lose any of that. So anyway, did I make a mistake in my homeschooling journey? Absolutely not. I think I'm still here for it. This is very, very important to me. I'm still making a way, even with filming, right? On YouTube, it's late. I don't normally film this late, but we did have a very full day, and we'll have a very full week. And I'm still balancing my business. I'm still getting support in the hours that I know that I have non-negotiables. And I think I'm going to have to compromise in some areas, sacrifice some things, especially as a single mom solopreneur. And you'll hear it all as the story evolves. And so thank you. Thanks for coming on my channel. Again, I'm Yvette, the Declutterist, your less is more coach and business mentor. And if you're also homeschooling, shout out in the comments. Let me know what your journey is like. If you're a mompreneur doing the double duty thing, if you're a single mom, I mean, really, let me know where you at in your journey. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Peace.